We're here at the Frankfort Cemetery where the grave of Daniel Boone is. So I thought while we're here, we're just going to take a quick trip and just take a peek at his grave before we move on to our next town, which will be Richmond, Kentucky. He was born on November 2nd, 1734, and died on September 26, 1820. He was an American pioneer and frontiersman whose exploits made him one of the first folk heroes of the United States. He became famous for his exploration and settlement of Kentucky, which was beyond the western borders of the 13 colonies at that time. In 1775, Boone founded the Wilderness Road through the Cumberland Gap and into Kentucky, and by the end of the 18th century, more than 200,000 people had entered Kentucky by the same route that Boone marked. He was born in a log cabin in Exeter Township near Reading, Pennsylvania. His father, Squire Boone Sr., was a Quaker blacksmith and weaver who met his wife Sarah Morgan in Pennsylvania after he immigrated from England. Boone was their sixth child and received little formal education, but he did learn how to read and write from his mom, and his dad taught him wilderness skills. He was given his first rifle when he was 12 years old and quickly proved himself a talented woodsman and hunter, shooting his first bear. At age 15, he moved with his family to Rowan County, North Carolina on the Yadkin River, where he started his own hunting business. And by 1755, he left home on a military expedition that was part of the French and Indian War. He served as a wagoner for Brigadier General Edward Braddock during his army's defeat at Turtle Creek, near modern-day Pittsburgh. He was a skilled survivor and saved his own life when he escaped the French and Indian ambush on horseback. In August of 1756, he wed Rebecca Bryan, and the couple set up stakes in the Yadkin Valley. Over a 24-year period, they would have 10 children. At first, he found himself content with all the ingredients of a happy life. He said a good gun, a good wife, and a good horse. But adventure stories he had heard from a teamster ignited his interest in exploring the American frontier. So in 1769, he led an expedition that discovered a trail to the west through the Cumberland Gap. And in 1775, he settled an area called Boonesborough in Kentucky, where he faced Indian resistance. The same year, he brought his family to the west, and he became the leader of the colony. Local Shawnee and Cherokee tribes met Boone's settlement of the Kentucky land with resistance, and in July of 1776, the tribes kidnapped Boone's daughter Jemina. Eventually, she was released. An unexpected event in Boonesborough happened on April 24th. Two men were getting their horses and were assaulted just outside the garrison gate by several Shawnee. One was killed and scalped, while the other escaped. Following this, several settlers, including Boone, encountered 50 Shawnee. During the clash, Boone was shot in the foot but recovered. As his attacker was about to give him the last blow, the assailant was shot and killed by another colonist. He was captured by the Shawnee in 1778 and had managed to escape and resume protecting his land settlement, but was robbed of the settlers' money while on his way to buy the land permits. The settlers were furious and demanded he repay the debt. Some even sued him. And by 1788, he left the settlement he had worked so hard to protect and relocated to Point Pleasant, which is now West Virginia. After serving as a lieutenant colonel and delegate of his county, he pulled up stakes and moved to Missouri, where he continued to hunt for the remainder of his life. And on September 26, 1820, he died of natural causes at his home in Femme, Osage Creek, Missouri. He was 85 years old. More than 2 decades after his death, his body was exhumed and reburied here in Kentucky. Regardless of the folklore surrounding him, he did exist and is still remembered as one of the greatest woodsmen in American history. He has many landmarks and towns named in his honor, notably Boone, North Carolina. He did not wear a coonskin cap as was reported, but he was an international celebrity during his lifetime. The legend surrounding Boone was so popular in American culture that in 1960 a TV show on Boone played by Dewey Martin was made by the Walt Disney Company. And in 1964, NBC launched an action-adventure TV show about him starring Fess Parker as Boone, and it lasted for 6 seasons. He was a Christian and had all of his kids baptized. In his writings, he expressed his faith, stating, "I have to love and fear God and believe in Jesus Christ." His Christian beliefs were evidenced throughout his life. Everyone agrees he died at his son's home in Missouri and was buried in Marthasville, near his wife Rebecca, but then the story gets muddled. Frankfort, the state capital of Kentucky, exhumed their bodies years later and reburied them here. But for years, Marthasville claimed that Frankfort dug up the wrong body. They said the grave next to Rebecca's was already occupied when Daniel died, so he was buried at her feet. And since the relatives were angry at Frankfort for digging him up, they didn't tell him where the true burial plot was, and they let Frankfort cart away the body next to Rebecca's, which was a stranger's. But in 2010, an official document filed by the Friends of Daniel Boone's burial site in Missouri conceded that some of his bones were dug up and moved to Kentucky, but only the large ones. His heart and brain remain where he was buried, and since Boone left Kentucky on bad terms, he swore that he'd rather die than set foot there again. And since both towns now have Daniel Boone graves with worthy monuments, they say that Daniel Boone is buried in the easiest spot for you to get to. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this quick trip to visit Daniel Boone and learn a little bit about him. The thing I like about it is, as I'm doing the research, I learned about these people too, but it was really cool to go to his grave. So I hope you guys will come here and visit sometime. And as always, remember that Jesus loves you. Until I see you again, bye.